Black women out here living our best life, and we gonna talk about it on the Cute Shoes channel. What's up, y'all? You just tuned in to the Cute Shoes channel, your virtual hangout spot on the chill side of the internet. Your host is Dr. Akua Rose Feathers, and she is going to guide you through the legacy-making brilliance, vulnerability, and awesomeness of Black women. Oh, this is not just a web channel. This is a spotlight, a stage and sanctuary for the rich mosaic of experiences, dreams, and triumphs of Black women. So, kick off your shoes, grab your favorite drink, and chill with us as we dive into some real talk. Let me tell you who's on the show today. On the show today is Antonique Vinson, a wellness coach and podcast host with over 10 years of education and experience in the fitness industry. Her mission is to help everyone redefine the way that they view fitness so that they are able to fully embrace their unique version of healthy. Through her business, Uniquely Fit Training, she has inspired and empowered people of all ages and backgrounds to increase body acceptance and awareness, break up with insecurities, and embrace who they are unapologetically so that they can take up space and stop playing small. Let's get to that conversation.
I am geeked out. I am geeked out. I'm charged up. I'm amped. Let me tell you something. Welcome.
Now be holding my mouth like this as you was reading. I was like,
Listen, because your bio is giving. Y'all, we was having a whole conversation beforehand about all of the terminology. It's giving. Yes, queen. You out here.
yes.
I'm feeling every piece of this. We are supposed to be talking about some other things, but I want to dive into this bio real quick. Because the way, just in that, I feel empowered alone, just reading that. And it comports so well with so much that I stand for. I don't want to jump to the end. The last part of it is one of my favorite pieces, but I'm going to go to the part about people embracing their unique version of healthy. Talk to me about that. What does that even look like? What do you mean when you say that?
So when I got into the fitness industry, fitness looked the same for everybody. Healthy looked one particular type of way, right? And as a Black woman, as a curvy Black woman, healthy was never going to look like that for me. I was never going to look like a size 0 or a size 5. That's not my ministry. So how do I make healthy look good for me? And my original tagline was fitness is not a one size fits all journey.
Okay.
And as I started evolving even more into the more of a wellness space, I was like, yo, everybody has a unique vision of what healthy is for them, whether it be it's so that they could play with their kids or so that they can just feel freer or just to move a little bit better. It's a unique journey. I can't tell you, hey, do everything that I'm doing, because your experience in life is completely different from mine. So why should I give you a cookie cutter program that I give to everybody and tell you this is going to help you be healthy, but it may not align with who you are or what you're doing. So that was my approach with that.
When stuff like that is what I think sets folks like you apart from other folks, because there's a lot of people in the fitness industry, and you're right, it's very cookie cutter. But when you come to me and say, who are you? And let me meet you where you are, and then let's build around that. To me, I think that's more powerful, because then you give people their identity back. You let them own who they are and then still be able to accomplish the goals that they want. So when you talk about a lot of when you talk about body acceptance and things like that, I don't believe this is the case for you, but that phrase has become very catchphrasy. It's become very cliche. How do you break out of that catchphrasiness? What is it about you that makes it to where no, I'm true to this? I don't know what you thought, but
I actually give my clients the tools so that they're able to fully accept their body versus just showing them these really dumbass images on social media that makes it look like I enjoy my body, but I really don't.
I need a minute to just roll on the floor and
I actually show people how to accept your body versus before our call, I was outside creating some content, and I like lifted my stomach up and I thought to myself, how many times do you see people get on the internet naked, right? But they really don't accept their bodies. They're just
Yes.
doing it. They're playing a part. You know what I mean?
See?
And my whole thing is, this is not for play for me, because I lived 20 years of not accepting my body, even getting
Yes.
down to my smallest size.
Yes.
I cried every day
Yeah.
because I was like, God, this is not what my body was supposed to look like. What the fuck? You know
Yep.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I had to learn, how do I accept myself first, so
Yes.
that whatever my body looks like from this age until the time that I go up to glory,
Yes.
how do I accept that? And so many people, they don't really walk the walk. They look like
Yes.
they walking it, but
Yep.
they're not really walking it for real.
See, and you said something that was so big in that for me, because and I'll ask you this before I even name a part.
Mhm.
Accepting your own body, would you say that that's a journey?
Hell yes.
Yes. Yes. Because there are moments, just like you just said, I've gotten down to the smallest that I've been in my life. And I was like, no, friend, I was skeletal. My face looked like somebody took a AI something and just plopped it on top. I was like, this ain't working. Like, I don't.
My friend said that I look like a bobblehead.
Facts. Well, I don't know about you, but I did. I looked like a bobblehead.
They said I look like a bobblehead.
Yeah.
I was called Star Jones. Yes, I was. And
See?
I know that it
Yep.
was out of like, actually, when I
Yep.
look back, will I say it's out of love? I don't know, but
We got a unique way of loving on each other over here.
we do. But they told I will never forget, my sorority sisters told me, they was like, Antonique, you look good. Your head just look real big, sis. We know you got a
Yes.
big head, but it looks
Yes.
real big, sis.
And and I thank you to her sorority sisters, because wasn't nobody telling me. Everybody was telling me I look good. I'm like, you don't see all of this. You don't see all of this. But I'm blocking everybody's view.
And I mean, the thing is, I've always had a big head. Like, my dad calls me Gina Waters for short. Like,
Ah,
yeah,
that's
he calls
okay.
me Gina all the time.
All right. I'm a tidy up.
And if you know,
Damn.
you know.
Right, right. Look it up. If you don't know what it is, go ahead and Google it. We'll wait. But the other thing about your bio that I love is that part where it says, I'm gonna read the whole part, that you help people to embrace who they are unapologetically so they can take up space and stop playing small. That's like drop the mic, bombs explode, roll the credits, out the door. Like, how, this is your interview, so I'm going to say, how is it that we let our body, what we believe about ourselves, how is it that we allow that to be our excuse and our way to play small?
So I used to have a 16-week coaching program called Snatched. And I had a client in that program, and she works in corporate America. And she was having a lot of issues and stuff at work. So we were kind of working through how your body image issues is related to your issues at work and the way that you show up. And I asked her, I said, she was like, I have this meeting that I have to present at. And I'm like, well, you're going to do great. Like, why do you think you're not going to do great? She's like, well, I don't want to take up more space than I already do now. And in the back of my mind, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But then I had to, in that moment, I literally told her, I said, hey, I need to take a pause because I just had a reflection moment. And I need to deal with this for like 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. And I thought back about all of the times that I didn't show up as my full self because I was like, I'm already big. So I can't take up even more room. I can't be the loud Black girl. I can't be the loud Black woman. I can't be just big and loud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think about how many opportunities I missed out on because I was like, I can't be so seen being the size that I was at that time. And talking to her, I was like, well, baby, take up all the space.
Every piece.
You take up all the space.
Yes.
Take up all the space. And that was just a big thing for me, because then I started seeing how all of the clients that I work with had a big issue with how they showed up. And it all came down to their body image issues affected the way that they showed up.
Isn't that crazy? So like, you got two things like playing in with each other. One, there is this stereotype of Black women as being loud and brash and audacious. And um, in some ways, some of us are. Like, we come from celebratory, rejoicing people, and we don't play small. But we then learned this other piece where there's this Eurocentric norm about how bodies are supposed to be shaped. When you look at the pictures of our ancestors, I don't care where we at, baby, we got curves. All
Everywhere.
right. We got waves. All right. We out here. Okay. Beautiful and plump and thick and all of the things. And so you got these two dynamics that we put together, and it fucks with us. It gets in our brain, and then we start like perpetuating all of those things. Like, I don't want to be loud. I don't want, like, we mute ourselves and don't realize how one thing connects to the other, to the other, to the other. And then, so I love that. So when you're working on fitness, so I think I'm going to come to you for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get into the.
You get so much. I give, because my thing is, like you said earlier, what sets me apart from other fitness professionals? I'm giving you celebratory at all times. I'm giving you motivation, but I'm giving you motivation that where you can actually hear it. I'm not doing that. Like, first of all, I love Billy Blank. So Billy, if you ever happen to fall across this, I love you. Thank you. But I'm not giving you Billy Blank's motivation. You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving you Jillian Michaels. I'm giving you Antonique Vinson motivation.
There it is.
And that's something that people can really feel and resonate with, because I have been where you are trying to go. You know what I'm saying? I came from the same starting line that you did, and I got to the finish line, and I'm going back to the starting line sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's just so important to me to get a full experience of wellness, not just, all right, pick up these dumbbells and do it like this. Like, I have clients that come back to me and be like, I'm so glad that I started with you as my trainer, because I've learned how to motivate myself, but I've also learned how to sift through a lot of the bullshit when it comes to the fitness industry. You know what I mean? Like, and I've had a lot of people try to like knock my pegs down in the fitness industry because of who I am, and try to make it seem like it's not like I am too loud, or I am too boisterous, or I am all of these things. But I had to learn, baby, you're just mad because you're not me.
And that part.
You're just mad because I get all the people would come to my classes. I was the top closer for Orange Theory in the month of August in all of DC. Because I'm me, baby. Not because I followed the full Orange Theory handbook from front to back. You get an experience when you come to my class. We are having a good time. We are not sad. The first thing I say when I teach afternoon classes is, hey, if you're coming from work, this is the moment to say, fuck my boss. I'm here and it's all about me.
Love it.
If you're skipping a Zoom meeting right now, you already skipped it, so you might as well not worry about it. Be in this present moment right now.
Completely.
So
Yes.
I just believe in the experience. It's important.
I love every piece of that. I am so inspired by Black women, like the way that we take up space, the way that we show up. Like, I'll be out here like, say some more, and then I have to remember, you're supposed to be asking questions. Are cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'm gonna do that, because otherwise I'm like, what else? Keep going. So I'm getting the impression, and I want to kind of dive into, so we're going to take some steps back. I want to dive into, because I'm getting the impression that a lot of who you are, because you said it, the reason that you show up the way you do is because you're you. And so I'm getting an impression that being you was also a journey. So I want to ask you, we're gonna back all the way up and get into that. When we talk about identity, just how would you define how would you define identity? Like, if I was to ask you to define that, how would you define it?
That's always something that I've kind of like had to ask myself, like, what do I identify as? Do I identify as a Black woman? Do I identify as a half Jamaican woman? Do I identify as a college graduate? Like, who do I identify as? And for me, it's just, I identify as Antonique. Like, I was meditating this morning and something was just like, you are Antonique. Period. You are Antonique. Like, and that's it.
Yeah.
you know, and that encompasses so many beautiful layers
Mhm.
that I can't pick one because
Right.
there's so many facets to me. So it's just, I am Antonique.
Do you ever wrestle with that? Do you ever wrestle with like, I want to, I didn't like this part of me is so strong and I want to own just that, not just that, but
Mhm.
mostly that? Or is it always this all of us? It's me.
What I've learned is over these years, is that there's a time and a place for each facet of me to show up.
That's
You know what I'm saying? So like, and that's something I've actually been praying for over the last couple of weeks is like, Lord, help me to be the version of myself so that I can show up authentically in whatever space, whether
mm,
that space is with my Jamaican family, whether that space is in the fitness industry, whether that space is with college educated Black women or whatever. Um, there definitely is a time and a place, but it's
yeah,
the essence that's within
yeah,
that makes
yeah.
it more beautiful. And what some people do when they do this like role, they look at it as a role. That's what it is. They
Hmm.
look at each piece of them as a character. When I'm not a character, my ego is a character. Now she is a character, but the layers of who I am, that's not a role, that's not a character for me.
Yeah.
It's just I get to give you all of my colorfulness with each of
Hmm.
those layers, you know.
Yeah, I like the way you worded that because I've often explained to folks a similar thing, but I don't think I've worded it so eloquently where, I've been in meetings. So I code switching is kind of a thing that I do, but I don't do it in the way that we typically define it. Because I've been in meetings with CEOs and VPs and big mucky mucks, and we'll be talking about something. I'll be like, oh, yo, that's dope. What we need to do is, and I'm hand with and I'm doing what we need to do is I'm giving you all of this, but I'll also
Mhm.
be in a space where, with people who may speak a certain vernacular, AABE, whatever you want to call it. And
Mhm.
I might say something like, you know what? I think that's an opportunity that we may want to take advantage of because it sounds like
Mhm.
it's advantageous for, right? So I code switch in ways that's not typically known, but it's just because lettuce, is it lettuce? Yeah, I always, these are the pieces of me. So
Yes, yes, yep.
you're gonna get all of me. I'm silly, I'm intellectual,
Mhm.
I'm strategic, I'm analytic, I'm all of these things.
Mhm.
And sometimes one part of me like wants to be in the room. And
Mhm.
I've learned to let them be.
Mhm.
How would you describe yourself in that space? How do you let them be? What was that journey like for you? Or what is it like for
The
you?
journey was hard because coming from so I didn't grow up around white people.
Mm.
I didn't. I'm from gorgeous Prince George's County, Maryland. And and most people know, at least most Black folks know, it's the richest Black county in the United States, like
Mm.
property value off the wazoo, right?
Yeah.
And I went to a high school where there were only maybe like 7 white kids that graduated with us,
Shut up.
and they all dated Black people. Like all the white dudes dated Black girls. They love it, hun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I went to a predominantly white college, and I
Um,
had to really learn like, oh, I can't show up as PG Antony all the
because
time.
you thought did you think when you went to the college like, oh, okay, cool, it's just like more of the people that were at my school, but it's the same.
Literally, I
Wow.
literally thought it was like that. And I didn't understand that just as I didn't grow up with white people, there were white
Hmm.
people that did not grow up with Black people.
Yes, yes.
And I remember my best girlfriend, we've been friends since kindergarten. I remember her mom's from Mississippi. And before I left for
Mm.
college, and she knew where I was going, and her mom pulled me aside and she said, white people are different where you're going. I just want you to know that.
Wow.
And I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
I just
fair.
didn't understand it.
Hmm.
And then my parents dropped me off. And I remember my dad he said, I feel real uncomfortable. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Girl,
Like,
like, what are
I,
you
I,
doing?
I was confused. And I had my first instance of like, oh, this is different when I would perm my hair, but I would have my door open. And I had, girl, I came to school with the dryer, the folder dryer.
Wait, where's mine at? Over there. Just did my hair yesterday.
I came to school with that. So all the Black girls knew that I had a sit under dryer. So they would come to my room and they're like, hey, can I do my hot oil treatment real fast? Or hey, can I do whatever? And the white girls would stop at the door. Girl, it was like a damn zoo. It was
I'm sure.
oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, oh, we're doing hair. And like, oh my God, can I see what you're doing? Oh, we've like it was a real shocker. It was a shocker. And even me speaking in class, like I was still real heavy PG, like talk. I was real heavy in my ebonics in all of our little slang or whatever. And I remember a lot of my professors just didn't understand me. They didn't understand like my openness. And the other Black kids that came to my school, they knew how to act around white kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And me and a lot of the girls from my area, we were all, and some of them actually, they went to school with white kids because they went to private schools. Girl, I went to public school. Okay. And I had to learn, like, I'm like, am I truly accepted as who I am in the world? That was really hard for me. Does the world accept me for who I am and how colorful I am? And through that journey, I've just had to learn, do what your spirit feels right. And if they choose to work with you or align with you or whatever, that doesn't take away from who you are. You know, I would get a lot of slack when I first started teaching cycle about the music that I played. One lady was like, I love Antonique's classes, but she plays a lot of hip hop. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I think I had like one hip hop class, a cool one hip hop class. And I advertised it. I said, it's Hip Hop Tuesday. I said, it's going up on a Tuesday.
Okay. So you came on Hip Hop Tuesday where the hip hop was going to be played. Oh, okay. Okay.
The title of the class this was at the time that Going Up on a Tuesday, it was out. And so I was like, oh, bitch, it's Tuesday. It's going up on a Tuesday. Let's do that. And she complained. And I remember my boss said something about it. And I kind of was like, what?
Right.
And she suggested music. She's like, oh, you should play this music. Girl, I didn't play that damn music.
Amen. Because no, thank you. It's one thing to be taken by surprise, but when I put it in all of the things and you still come in, we're talking about something else now. This isn't the same conversation anymore.
So it was like, I really just learned people are going to show up for you or not. And it's not up to you to conform yourself for people to show up to you. If they get the message, they get the message. If they don't get it, they can ask questions.
It's such like the way you say it, and even though you have described a part of your journey, I think there's so much that isn't understood about that space and about the journey, because there's so much, so many different words. There's so much figuring out and reconciling and worry and curiosity and confusion and hurt and anger and all the things that happen in that space, because there are things that we experience. Let's just take that Hip Hop Tuesday example. There are things that we experience. I say it's a hip hop class, and I'm inserting it into a space where there is a expectation, and I don't even know where that thing is located, but obviously it's located somewhere where Eurocentrism, I want to say, prevails, or at least shows up. Let's just say it shows up.
And let's also just put out there, I was the only colored cycle instructor.
And there we go. And there's always this press for us to wrestle. Do I give in and be what you want me to be? Because it's not just about you playing my song. Because now I'm going to say, I really love Antonique's class, but sometimes, her hair, I just think it should probably be a little bit more pressed, or it should be a little bit more, but
I know that there are so many people in those spaces that are like that, and that I totally understand.
Right? Yeah. So it's like when we give in, it's what all you had to do was just play a different song, or all you had to do was just stop talking. All you had to do was just comply with the officer. All you had to do was not put your hands. Oh, okay. I think we're going into a whole other place.
Mm-hmm.
The more all you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
the more we get into that, the less or should I say, the more we lose of ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
And at what point so this conversation is going to a different way. I'm gonna go ahead and drive the bus back to where we started,
It be like
because
that sometimes.
and it does,
Mm-hmm.
right? It
Mm-hmm.
takes us from a simple suggestion of changing the music
Mm-hmm.
to completely eradicating who I
Yes.
am. In a
Yes.
world like that, Antonique, how do you hold? Because the fitness industry is not owned by us,
No.
right? How do you hold tight to that in spite of all of that?
Mm. And you know, it was difficult for a very long time, because that goes into finally accepting who I am, because I did a lot of trying to be other people.
There
I
it
tried
is.
to show up in fitness as other people and other
Mhm.
instructors. I remember in undergrad, I tried to show up just not as Antonique. I tried showing up in even romantic relationships, not as
Mhm.
me. It was so much. And it doesn't even go back to college. It goes back to all the way back to my childhood and like elementary school. This has been a lifelong thing for me, of being told that it's not okay for me to be who I am.
Yeah.
And I have to be someone else in order to be accepted.
Mhm.
And that had greatly affected and caused me a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
but also has caused me to not develop, but like I read a lot of books. I know a lot of us read a lot of books.
And do.
But I was reading this book called Attached, and it's about like attachment styles and relationships.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I realized that I really struggle with an anxious attachment style, because I get so insecure and unsafe in who I am that I feel like I have to conform into someone else, or someone that other people approve of, in order to
Yeah.
be successful and loved and all of these things. So I've had to learn how to detach those ideas about someone else's what's the word, someone else's potential for me, or someone else's
Yeah.
expectations for me, and really start to hone in on my own. And it can be really difficult, especially when you're in spaces that are constantly telling you to change who you are,
Yes.
and constantly telling you
Yes.
that you're not good enough, and constantly. But what's important is that when you go home at night, or when you have that space for yourself, you're reinforcing to yourself that it's not about me at the end of the day. It's about their own fears, their own insecurities that are being
Yes.
projected onto me. And it's
Yes.
their fear of rejection, their fear of abandonment, their jealousy, all of those types of things. And
Mhm.
that's caused me to really be like, she would be that bitch. And now people try to stop you from being that bitch. So
Mhm.
I refuse to let anybody else that comes into my atmosphere stop me from being that bitch and dimming my light.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
that takes time. It takes a certain space of self-awareness, is really stepping back from the noise and really being like, yo, what does this shit really look like for real? Like,
Yeah.
let's really think about this here.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's there are layers to it, because what
Mhm.
I hear a chorus of voices saying, well, everyone goes through that. Like everyone has a moment where they struggle with identity, but the struggle with identity for us is underneath layers of, if you don't conform, then I won't
Yes.
allow you. I won't
Yes.
open the door for you. I won't create a
Yes.
seat at the table for you. I won't,
Mhm.
give you this opportunity. I've literally had people think that they were encouraging me and
Mhm.
just reminding me that if you do it this way, then
Mhm.
that opportunity will come.
And
Uh,
those
you
are
know,
words that I've started listening to, like really listening to what people say. Listen, I'm I'm a Delta, and we have elephants are our thing. And I always say I knew I was an elephant before Delta, because I'm like, elephants never forget, hun. I
and
never forget. I will play back a conversation like a little
indeed.
record,
Hmm.
and then I will play it back slowly, just to really like, let me see if I heard what I heard correctly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And whenever someone says to me, well, I think you should, then I kind of like, okay, this is how I know that I don't really need to listen to what you're saying, because
Exactly.
you're not, you're looking at it from your perspective and the
Yeah.
fears that you have and all of those things.
There it is.
And it is scary sometimes to hear someone say these doors won't be opened. It's very scary, and I know there's lots of opportunities that I lost out on because I didn't look the part, sound the part, all of those things. But I know that in God's greater plan, I didn't need to be there anyway. So I've started to create my own table. And I've decided to, listen, I've created my own table, but I've graciously learned to accept invitations to other people's tables that are willing to have me there.
Yeah. But have me there.
Yes, me. Yes.
If I can't sit at the table in all that I bring, and like we said, those pieces of me, then I respectfully decline.
Exactly.
How does somebody? I'm listening to this, I'm watching this, and I hear you saying all of these things, and if they're on that journey of understanding that vision of themselves, how do they incorporate that into the way they do health? How can they retrain? Because again, tons and tons of messages come to us about what we should and could and ought to be and look like. And then I've got this me over here that's just like you were saying, I just want to play with my kids. I just want to feel good when I, move around in the world. How do we blend that? Like where can somebody start in that space?
The biggest thing is sitting down and having a vision for yourself, having a vision of but how do you see yourself maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Are you able to walk up and down the stairs? Are you picking fresh fruits? What types of foods are you eating? Are you filled with ailments? Are you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have to think about what you see for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And then you say, okay, if this is what I see for myself, how do I get there? What are the things I'm not willing to give up? And it's okay to not give up things. That's one of the biggest questions that I ask my clients. What are you not willing to give up on this journey? And I've had people say, I've had men and women say, I don't want to give up my wine. That's okay. Let's figure out how do we incorporate that into your lifestyle, but in a healthier way. How do we, like for me, I'm not giving up Chipotle. I'm not giving up popcorn. I'm not giving up lattes.
Listen.
Like I'm not doing those things.
Come on now. Latte.
So I have to ask myself, in order to keep these things that are my non-negotiables, now how do I move forward in this journey? And then also, what are things about health and fitness that you despise? Are there any particular movements that you absolutely hate? I don't run for my life. I will run for
I got to go. Not I don't run for my life.
The big bad wolf is just going to get me because I'm like, babe, listen.
Tell me you're not the one that's just going to fall down. You're not just, please, at least.
And I'm clumsy too. So let's get into that one. And I'm clumsy. That's why I ain't running no deal where. Look, when I used to live in DC, I used to run for a train. I used to run for a train. Run. When I say run, knee to chest run. Marion Jones run for trains, right? And I remember this man, he was like, oh, you must have been a track star. I said, because I was full rotation of my hips running, okay? And I was Sha'Carri Richardson out here in Metro. But I hate running. And I always get those people, especially when I was like really heavy on my weight loss journey. Oh my gosh, running is going to make the weight fall off. So I forced myself to run. And what did the weight do? Fall right the fuck back on because I stopped fucking running. So it's like, I'm not going to force anybody to do movements that they hate because then you're not going to continue to do those movements throughout your journey.
Yeah. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited because I'm excited that you exist in this world. And that's usually something I say to people in parting but I want to say that out loud in the open space. I am grateful that you exist in this world because like many things, there's no such thing as one way to do fitness. There's no such thing as one way. And everything you're saying, I really feel like people can enter your space of wellness, whether it's a fitness class or, or whatever, and we're going to get into that in 1 second, that they can bring their whole self. I don't like this, and I do like that, and I don't want to stop doing this, and da 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 da. And we get to incorporate that into the space. I'm so grateful that you are in the world and that people's lives are allowed to come into contact with yours. Like you doing your good work.
I try to, because my thing is, like, I'm the modification mommy. If you need a modification in exercise, we giving it to you, even in the midst of class. Like, I start my group exercise classes saying, you're not here for me, you're here for yourself. And so if there is something that, if you're like, Antonique, I'm going to sit my ass down on this bike this entire time, that's your prerogative, hun. That's not going to stop me from teaching class. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or I remember I have one lady that would come to my classes really consistently. She tore her ACL in both damn knees. Me and her had conversations about that. And once she finished her surgery and she started coming back to class, and I remember I said, all right, what did your doctor say? And so she said, well, I can't do this, this, and this for the next couple of weeks. So I said, all right, cool. So I told her, I said, whenever you hear me cue this is what you'll do instead. My biggest thing is creating connection with everyone that I encounter, just because what you need is going to be absolutely different from what the person next to you on the bike needs. And one thing I do praise myself about in the cycle classes that I teach, right now I'm just subbing, but I go up to all of my students and I ask them, how are you doing? How are you feeling in class? Is there anything that you have questions about? Is the music too loud? But just how are you feeling? And my students have said, I feel a real connection to you when you come up to me personally and talk to me, because I don't just feel like a face in the crowd. And child, I've done this when I've had like 25 plus people in class. I go to each and every person and just say, how are you doing right now? And I've had people say, I just found out I had a death in the family this morning. And this is helping me to not really focus on that for a moment and put focus back on myself. Or I just quit my job today. Or like, just, you never know what somebody is going through. And the last thing that I want to do is be like, that's not, I'm not here to put more pressure on you than what you need. If you want to put that pressure on yourself, that's your biz. I will give you the option of take it up a notch, but you don't have to take it up a notch. I'm not watching you as you twist your finger. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Row 3, bike 5, you didn't do it. No.
You did not twist the amount of times that I told you to twist. And I've seen instructors be like that. I've taken classes where they'll be like, push harder. You didn't push harder. Like shit like that. And I think that that's dumb as fuck, because I didn't go back to those classes. You're not about to point me out. Because even if I have people in class that are regulars, I'll point them out in I see you, girl. You know what I'm saying? But if they're doing something that I feel like, hey, you need to fix, then I come up to you and say, hey, sis, raise your chin up. Or hey, sis, push your hips back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I love every piece of that. I could literally talk with you for another hour and a half. And because there's so much more that I want to ask. And so maybe we talk about having a part 2. But just because we are where we are in terms of time, please describe what is the work that you like? We know that you're in fitness and wellness, but what is a way that people can encounter your services? In that way, what is the work you do? And then also tell us where we can find you if we want to connect with you and do that work with you.
Yes. So I am actually starting my like little nomad-y journey. So I'm very like remote at this moment in life. So I offer remote personal training services, and I work with people that have all different types of backgrounds, whether you are postpartum or whether you are the baby is still in your belly and you're like, hey, I just want this push to be a little bit easier. I've worked with women in that space. I offer monthly programs. I actually have a program coming up this fall where we literally, I had a summertime fine program, and you got me as a coach on demand in your back pocket for an entire month. I gave you what I call neat nuggets every day. We talked about different topics. You got like nutrition, like suggestions, I told you I'm a suggestions gal. Workout suggestions, and you could just ask any question that you have and talk about any story that you have, and we just work through it as a team. And then I also offer one-on-one coaching as well, where we dig a little bit deeper into some of the traumas that you've probably experienced that cause you to have the outlook on wellness the way that you do. Because
Yes,
some people, what
yes.
I've learned is not just what I've learned from other people, but also learned from myself, is my childhood affects a greatly
There it
amount of
is.
how I viewed health and wellness for a very long time. So I work with people in those realms, and I have a podcast. It's called the Redefining Wellness Podcast. It's available on all podcast streaming networks. Yeah, those are some of the biggest ways to like find me. Like, well,
Yes,
that's the work that I do.
yes, yes, yes. And
And
so
to
when I
find
go to
me,
Google, yes, how do I find you?
yeah, so to find me, I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Haynique V. I am I have my website. It's under construction right now, so please don't go to it. But it's uniquelyfittraining.com. But my Facebook, I mean not my Facebook, my Instagram, it gives you links and stuff to how to find me, how to work with me. I do offer free consultations. So for anyone that's interested in just like, where do I even start?
Yeah.
I love helping people with just that part of recognizing where they feel like they're not fulfilled on their wellness journey, or what their fears are about even starting one in the first place.
Yeah.
And I offer group programming. I do a lot of speaking. I be doing all the things.
I can tell, and I'm somebody who has serial, like in my journey to identity from seventh grade. From
Mm,
seventh grade, I was 13,
mm,
taking pills, doing soups, taking shakes, and all
mm.
that. So I've had this journey and serial dieted, serial worked out.
Mine started at 13 too. It really started
See,
at 13.
I there's conversations there. We should
Yes.
talk. Um, but as somebody in that space, it is very fragile for me to entrust myself to a coach,
Yeah.
because I don't want the domineering, like you said, do this, push harder. I've had those. And I don't want the person who's like, if you don't do it this way, then that's not going to work, and I'm never going to work. I don't want that either. I can tell that you are a safe space for someone who genuinely wants to be well, and also on their journey to health, and I can tell that there is an encouragement, there is an inspiration, and there's like an authentic, genuine support. I'm letting that hang in the space for a second.
Yeah.
Authentic and genuine support. And again, I'm really grateful. When the episode is published, all of your information will be there. But I do like to have people say it out loud so folks can know, where to find folks. So in our last few moments,
Okay.
there's some. I want to give you a chance to give some last words, but I don't know the person to create. So I'm gonna ask you. Usually I'll provide, like, if a person is this, and I'll create a scenario and I'll say, what would you say to that person? But you speak to so much, like the weight of your words go so far. I don't want to limit
Oh,
them.
praise God. Yes.
So what words would you say? What are some words of wisdom that you would have to, what are words of wisdom that you want to share? Just a final word.
Definitely. And it's funny because one of my girlfriends, she messaged me this morning because one of my newest podcast episode dropped on Tuesday, and it's called Finding the Magic in Your Insecurities.
Ooh.
And so and she was like, girl, it hit right on time because I was feeling like X, Y, and Z. So I think that would be perfect. If you're struggling with insecurities, or you are struggling with just trying to walk on your own path, and you're being bombarded by people that are telling you you're not good enough because of this, or you don't look good because of this, or you have that little critic in the back of your mind that's telling you those same exact things when no one is around, remember, you were not born with the spirit of fear or insecurities. That is not something that you created. Your insecurities are not something that you created. It's something that somebody else created and projected onto you because of either the way that they feel about themselves, or because of the threatening feelings that they feel about you. So if you're deeply struggling with feeling insecure about you, or you're not really liking you, remember, you didn't create that from thin air. somebody planted that seed within you, and it's your duty to take the shovel and to pull that seed out.